Has anyone experienced a gunshot or knife wound? What does it feel like? Bullet wounds cause feelings similar to a burning sensation. Wounds from stabbing sometimes don't even feel at all. There was a fight in a bar one night. Some guy I didn't even know attacked me and managed to hit me, what I thought was, right in the chest. Someone pulled out a gun and started shooting. I jumped on my motorcycle and ran as fast as I could from there. After a few minutes of riding fast down the highway, I started to feel dizzy. I stopped and realized I couldn't stand. Then I fell down. The last thing I remember was red and blue lights, and someone shining a flashlight in my eyes. It turned out that the policeman had mistaken me for a drunk driver and was about to pull me over, but I pulled over before he had a chance to do so. And when I fell off the bike and fell over, he thought his suspicions were justified. He was about to roll me over to cuff me, and I guess when his hand was on my torso, he saw that I was bleeding. It turned out I hadn't been kicked, but stabbed, and I was hurtling down the road, leaving a trail of blood behind me, like a punctured gas tank. In short, I didn't feel much pain right after the stabbing, but the pain during the treatment. Fuck it all. I was stabbed 3 times with a serrated meat knife. Took the spleen, the stomach, and the heart. It was dark. It was dark. Some short guy came at me waving his fists at me. I kept trying to defuse the situation, didn't want it to turn into a fight, so I dodged the blows, redirecting them downward. But he had a knife in each hand. I didn't feel their blows. It felt like I'd just been punched in the torso a few times. He turned and ran away. I looked down and saw that I was covered in blood, took a few steps and sat down on the sidewalk, turned to the woman looking at me with horror and said, "I'm so tired, I'm exhausted," and passed out. I was shot once. You don't feel anything except the sensation of being hit. After 5 minutes, you get an unimaginable feeling of burning and pain. I can't even describe how bad the pain is in the area where the bullet hit you. After that, you start to feel cold and pass out. At least that's what happened to me. Once in Seoul, Korea, when I was a teenager, I was stabbed with scissors. I put my hand up to protect my face because that's where the scissors were going to hit me. It went right into my elbow. My arm was on fire. It was such a searing pain. I got stabbed in the stomach once. I was a dumb psychotic teenager and I was fighting with other dumb psychotic teenagers. One of them pulled out a knife and stabbed me with it. I don't think he even looked where he was aiming. Honestly, I didn't even feel anything. I just saw the blade go into my stomach next to my hip. I froze for a second and then I hit the guy and took off running. I think I ran 3 to 5 meters and fell down, holding the handle of the knife. Luckily, I was there with some friends who caught up with me, and one of them called an ambulance. The last thing I saw before I passed out was one of my friends yelling something. I woke up a few days later in the hospital, and I couldn't even bend or bend over. I didn't feel any pain, only some kind of continuous throbbing at the wound site. But every time I tried to bend, it hurt like hell. The doctor said that there were no serious injuries. The blade had entered me about a centimeter near my gut. I got hit by 6 bullets 10 years ago when I was lured and robbed, went to buy pot, and this guy called his friends and they attacked me as I was walking home. 1 hit between my shoulder and armpit, 2 in my chest, 2 in my stomach, another one in my thigh. There was no particular pain anywhere except in my hip, as one of the bullets hit my hip bone. Because of the adrenaline rush, I managed to get up and walked the few blocks to the hospital. I scared the hell out of the emergency room, but I didn't feel any pain until I woke up from surgery a few days later. Probably the worst was the pain in my chest from the 2 broken ribs. I was shot. The bullet hit my thigh. There was a burning sensation. I couldn't step on that leg. The pain at that moment was a 6 out of 10. A few minutes later, an ambulance came. Luckily for me. I'm sure I had morphine injected into me because in the ambulance, the pain went down to a score of 4 before they brought me to the operating room. When you get hit with a shotgun, during a bird hunt, someone hit me in the back. Unintentionally, of course. A few pellets went in deep and it was hard to get them out. Up to a certain point, the pain didn't feel. It felt more like you had been hit by a car going at a low speed. Because of the shock, I blacked out, and when I woke up the pain was gone because the doctors extracted everything and pounded me with painkillers until I recovered. I still have small scars on my back. You can hardly see them, but if you run your finger over them, you can feel them. Once I was stabbed by my father after he got drunk and freaked out about something. I don't even remember what exactly it was because, unfortunately, he often drank and freaked out. I was expecting something like that, and I was terribly scared, and I don't know if that state of mind contributed to the pain or lessened it. He stabbed my shoulder, but the blade didn't go in as deep. It felt like a syringe had been stuck in there, only with a wider needle, although that sounds meaningless. It wasn't a very pleasant experience, and I certainly wouldn't want to feel that again. I hurt myself, but it wasn't the fault of a person. It was the building. I was 11 years old at the time, and I lived in the shitty town of Hastings, Ontario. It was the last day of a hockey competition, with 3 days left until my birthday. I ran out of the arena and started running up and down the sides of the narrow ramps, and suddenly I stumbled. I don't know who had the idea to build that, but there were rebar posts with sharp wires sticking out horizontally, just high enough to stick into my knee. At first my leg went numb, and I rubbed it and realized that something was wrong. Instinctively, I started crying and went to my father. He carried me to the car and put me in a chair. I was fat as a kid, and thank God I had extra fat, because when my dad cut open my pants and saw the wound, oh shit. It was 2 centimeters wide and 5 centimeters deep. There was no pain. The drive to the hospital took 26 minutes, and I still wasn't in pain. When they stuck a syringe in my leg for local anesthesia, however, it hurt a lot. They didn't put in enough anesthesia either, so I felt some pain when they stitched me up.